I recently learned some Python. Other than using Python alongside existing Unity projects and pipelines, I hadn't really touched much Python for a project like a game. So I set out to install Python on my Windows PC. And then I also was not sure which frameworks within Python were available to do things like input, rendering, audio. So I installed an optional module built on top of Python called PyGame. I was quite pleased with its performance and the API. The best way for me to get into gaming was to look at how other games had been done, and I looked at a lot of the tutorials that are available on Python. It's pretty straightforward. When you're creating Python, you're able to edit with any code editor you like. I love the company JetBrains, and I use quite a bit of their tooling, so I was delighted to find that they've got something called PyCharm, which is a Python-specific code editor built on top of their tool, so it's awesome. The community edition is free, and I got that set up as well. Everything that I'm showing here in the simple game project and the framework built on top of it is available in one repo. That's the PyGameSystemManager. So you can dig into that project and take a look at how I did this code. But I'll start out by showing the project itself. So here I am inside PyCharm, and the PyCharm project is pointed toward this main Python file. And in that, I do some basic setup, and I'm able to run the game here by building it, and here's the finished project. So I'm able to use the arrow keys for input. You can also use mouse for games within Python, PyGame. You can hear sounds as I'm collecting those coins and I'm moving the character. Both the character walk animation and the coins are done with sprite sheets, which is pretty standard 2D game development, and Python has the framework for all of that stuff. And then also there's collision detection between the character on the floor and the character and the coins. When I collect the coins, I increment the score, which is reflected in the GUI there. I keep track of how many coins you've collected so that I'm able to handle the win state you see there, and I also play the sound that you heard. So when I do a clean restart here, I'm actually restarting a part of my own framework just to prove out that my systems have cleaned themselves up properly, that I'm not rendering things unnecessarily, and that I've handled the RAM cleanup properly as well. So it works pretty well. Now let's take a look at the basics of this file here. The project has a class file for each of the major concerns here, but I just want to take a look at the main file. So I set up by starting with some main configuration. Everything that you see here at this level is my custom framework. So I handle configuration for the spawned window where the game is played. Then I set up the system manager itself, and I add some core systems. Core systems are meant to be reusable by any of the game. Now they're pretty simple, and probably there would be continued development if I used them on other projects, but once they would be locked in, you probably wouldn't touch one of these core systems for your own game. However, the custom game systems that you add after that, like the custom GUI system and the custom game system itself, those would be game specific. So in the project structure, I put them under an examples package so that it's easy to see that. Then I initialize the systems and start. Now each of these systems extends the same base class and is treated the same. Receives events as they're added, events when the systems are initialized, when the systems start, when the game stops, whenever there's an update. They can optionally listen in on the input system through an event system that I created and be able to handle whenever the keyboard input or mouse input happens. So everything's there for a pretty basic game and quite a nice framework. For me, the learnings of Python felt a bit like JavaScript, getting back to something that was not strongly typed, and that has some pros and cons. And there's an object-oriented approach that's available, but I felt kind of like, again, with JavaScript, the object-oriented layer was tacked on to the language and was not part of the language itself. Now, I'm new to Python, and maybe what I'm saying there is not the best way to explain it, but that's my 2 cents. Performance in PyCharm and actually publishing the project, super fast and easy. I really enjoyed the iterative approach. You get full stack traces whenever you're debugging, and you're able to print statements out. So pretty nice development framework, and I enjoyed learning a lot of Python itself. So please take a look at the project and send a pull request for anything you'd like to add or any comments you'd like. Thanks a lot.